Nobody remembers the Ratchet and Clank movie. Well, I do. I just don't have that good memories for it. Originals. Yes!
Let me just... Yep, there we go. Remember when Ratchet and Clank got a movie? No, me neither. So back in 2016, Sony had a groundbreaking idea. What if we set up our own studio exclusively for films about PlayStation characters? A studio that specializes in making video game movies? How could that possibly feel? I mean, they have such an amazing track record. But the question is, what franchise would be used to start off this Sony cinematic universe? Well, Ratchet and Clank, of course. It's actually the only good idea they've had in this whole situation.
Our first feature film, and there's nothing here. Where's the dubstep?
Apologies, Captain. Everyone is out making the Ratchet and Clank movie.
So yeah, in 2016, Sony wanted to start regularly releasing video game movies about their iconic characters like Sly Cooper, Nathan Drake. Yeah, okay, if PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale has taught us anything, it's that Sony do not have many iconic mascots.
Okay, everyone. Break is over.
Sadly, though, despite thinking this could be a lucrative endeavor to widen public awareness of these characters, the Ratchet and Clank movie failed to satisfy really anybody, and only managed to break about half its budget at the box office. Could the movie really be that bad? Before we get into that, let's take a slight detour and look into a short history of Ratchet and Clank, to see if it at least succeeded at being a fateful adaptation. Ratchet and Clank is a third-person shooter and open-world platformer, created by Insomniac Games. Ever since 2002, the series has been shooter and open-world platformer, created by
Insomniac? What have you done with your logo? Your logo was very iconic, especially with the O having a moon. And now it's just a boring ass corporation looking logo. What have you done?
Insomniac Games. Ever since 2002, the series has been widely popular, getting at least one game almost every year. They follow Ratchet, the last of his species known as the Lombax. Maybe. He works as a mechanic. You know, because he's got a giant wrench. One day he runs into Clank, a small robot defect who initially butts heads with Ratchet, but over the course of the game learn that their differences only bring them closer together, and from then on are the best of friends, planet hopping in their spaceship to defeat whatever bad guy threatens the galaxy. As the games became more and more successful, and Insomniac developed the characters and gameplay more, they had wanted to start making the games play like an animated movie. So at that point the next best thing to do would just be to make a movie. So in 2016 we got just that, alongside a PlayStation 4 remake of the original game. Now I was really excited for the remake. I got it day one and fell in love with it. I know for
I honestly was not that excited for Ratchet and Clank remake, especially the movie, because I prefer Jak and Daxter more, and Jak and Daxter really need more attention.
hardcore Ratchet and Clank fans, it's considered a huge step down from previous entries, especially as a remake to the original. But it was my first Ratchet game and I just did not care at all. I just think it's neat. Despite this though, I never bothered watching the movie. The most I saw from it was that Sony sponsored Smosh to make a video dedicated to promoting it.
Poppycock.
On April 29th, two unlikely heroes will need courage,
I'm going in.
power, and friendship. Ratchet and Clank, rated PG.
Robots are so cool. Yeah, that definitely doesn't come off as desperate, Sony. How are you gonna get to promote the Sly Cooper movie? Because my DMs are open, Sony, I'll do anything. Anyway, enough of that. Let's look into 2016's Ratchet and Clank, the movie. This film takes a slightly different approach on our hero's origin story. Ratchet is a mechanic, fixing up spaceships on a dull desert planet. Despite having a pretty good life with his caring parental figure Grimroth, Ratchet longs for more in life, looking for action and adventure, and a story that isn't a complete Star Wars knockoff. Like, come on, desert planet, not knowing his real parents, looking for more in life. I'm not the only one who sees this, right? Anyways, Ratchet's dream...
I never saw it as this at all. Thank you for pointing that out. I am not a huge mega critic, but I'm criticky enough. In fact, I might consider myself a semi-critic in a sense.
is to join the Galactic Rangers, a group of planet-protecting heroes led by an egotistical airhead, Captain Quark. Meanwhile, on a distant planet, the evil Chairman Drek and his partner Dr. Nefarious are using his giant space station, the Deplanetizer, to destroy other planets. Again, am I the only one who sees the Star Wars connection here? While producing his army of warbots, a lightning blackout causes their system to produce a small little defect. After learning of Drek's plans, he escapes to warn the Rangers, but ends up landing nearby Ratchet instead.
So, what do I call you? I suppose my proper designation is Warbot Defect B5429.
Maybe I'll just call you Clank.
Oh, that sure wasn't forced at all. So after meeting up and immediately becoming best friends, Ratchet and Clank head out to warn the Galactic Rangers, and hopefully join them in the process. After proving themselves as competent fighters, Ratchet slowly starts to become the face of their team, causing Quark to become jealous and eventually betray them all by teaming up with Drek. However, it is futile in the end, as Ratchet and Clank beat him with the power of funny XD random sheep, and also defeat Drek's partner Dr. Nefarious, who does like a dumb betrayal in the end, except, you know, it's very obvious to see they set it up in a previous... This story sucks. It's such a simple point A to point B kind of thing. There's no twists or turns, you can tell exactly what's gonna happen. Even when I thought they were setting up cliche twists, it turns out to just be a farce, and instead we get nothing. There's this part where Ratchet insists that he needs to take Clank to the Galactic Rangers. Secretly, it's because he wants to try join them, but he tells Clank they're his close friends.
The Rangers are actually my, friends.
This seems like it'd be setting up for that cliched liar revealed trope. Like later in the movie, probably during some intense action sequence, the truth is revealed and we have that whole "you lied to me" moment. But instead, this happens in the very next scene.
Yeah, like they'd know who we are.
But you said they were your friends.
What?
What was the point in setting that up if you weren't gonna do anything with it? Then there's this part at the end where Clank is trying to pull up one of their teleporter thingies out of the ground and Ratchet says,
What are you doing?
then Clank goes,
Improvising.
am I missing something here? Was there ever
I wasn't expecting that, John, but you know what? I'll take it.
a part of this movie where they said that? Ratchet does the DreamWorks face like, oh yeah, I recognize that callback. But I genuinely don't remember if that was in the movie before now. But a generic, predictable story isn't the end of the world. I think the thing that brings this movie down the most are the characters. See, the cool thing about Ratchet and Clank is that it was created in a time where mascot platformers were sorta on their way out. So to have that while still keeping up with modern trends, it's a grungy, dark... Well, I want to say edgy, but that word sort of has negative connotations with it. But my point is, Ratchet was like this jaded, wisecracking Lombax who only looked out for himself.
Nerd.
He was greedy, self-centered, and he wasn't afraid to be a douche to Clank. You know, he was a character. But in this movie, he's a wide-eyed, cuddly, cute creature who wants to be a hero and help people because he's super nice. Then he meets this little defenseless robot and basically takes on a caretaker role with him. I don't know why they took this approach. Did they assume the kids today couldn't relate to an annoying, greedy guy that just wants to get what he wants? Because that's exactly what a kid is. I would talk...
And keep in mind, the first original games before they bafflingly decided to change it to E10, the original games were actually T-rated. I should know. I have the original PS2 copies. They were T-rated before they decided to make it E10 ages and up. Freaking morons.
more about his character, but I feel like this comparison really portrays what I'm getting at.
We'll sell Ratchet action figures, Ratchet sports shoes, Ratchet deodorant, Ratchet breakfast cereal, earmuffs and cologne, soft drinks, hard drinks, energy drinks, breath mints. You get record deals, movie rights, reality shows, video games, and commercials. and there's no deal, Vox.
That's a bit too quickly, I might add.
After me. Or a cologne.
Earmuffs and cologne.
Or a cologne.
And that's not to mention Clank. No, really, he doesn't do anything in this film. He's got no personality and he and Ratchet barely interact. You know, for a movie called Ratchet and Clank, they really have no chemistry whatsoever. They're just forced to be around each other. Same goes for the Galactic Rangers, none of them really do anything worthwhile. The only thing I remember about them is that one of them was voiced by Bella Thorne of Alvin and the Chipmunks fame. But what if she didn't duck? She clearly needed a second to comprehend what Ratchet meant, yet he shot at her anyway. What?
Star in better movies!
That she didn't duck. This movie was animated by Rainmaker, known for such classics as Reboot and Tony Hawk's Boom Boom Sabotage. No,
I
that's
do
my
not
thing.
remember.
Yeah, so this movie looks
I
like
have
complete
never
and
heard of
utter
them. What?
Complete and utter shit. Doesn't look very good. For basing the series around flying to varied and unique planets, we really don't see many cool locations or alien designs. It's either generic purple townies or generic red blarg. The lighting is so bland. Again, for supposedly having all these unique settings, it all just looks the same, it's so boring. It's too bad because the character animation is pretty good for the most part. I just wish the backgrounds had some more effort put into them. You know, you're making a movie, give it some scope. Now, the one thing I can get down with are all these Sony references. Whoa, there's the PlayStation 1 jingle. Oh my god, is that the Ratchet 3 UI? Whoa, is that Daxter and Sly Cooper? I recognize those things. This makes the movie good now. In all seriousness, these are the only highlights of the film. Well, on this joke.
Wow, look at that.
This is literally the only time I felt something other than complete and utter boredom while watching this. That joke is a complete outlier. This movie is so unfunny. Just because your movie takes place in a futuristic setting doesn't mean you have to keep going on about the hashtags and the modern trends and the...
Wilhelm!
Did you get it? It's because they used the Wilhelm scream. But this guy was also called Wilhelm. Do you get it? Please. Please tell me you get it. This is all I have. Well, Sony did such an amazing job on their first PlayStation original that it cancelled all other projects, with the only other announced one at the time being the Sly Cooper movie, which has been stuck in development hell ever since, with it now supposedly being a TV series animated by the folks who did Sonic Boom, but we haven't heard much about it in a while. It really is a shame. The original Ratchet and Clank game had a great story, a great setting, a really well integrated consumerist message, and most importantly, great likable characters that grew and evolved into the heroes we know today, but ultimately yet failed due to trying way too hard to appeal to our modern trends and culture. Maybe one day Sony will try their hands at another PlayStation movie, but until then...
Oh, that was terrible.
Yes it was.
Yes. There was one scene in the video game remake or video game reboot that pretty much sums it up perfectly, which is the hashtag Gadgeton. A game went from satire with consumerism into actual consumerism itself. What have I done? Shit. Camera. Oh, okay, there it is. The camera went out of thing. Okay. In a way, Ratchet and Clank is kind of like a kid-friendly boys before the boys was actually a thing. I could be over-exaggerated, but that's kind of the way I see it. And I'm a bit conflicted about the Jack series having more attention. On one hand, I like to see more of these guys because I really love Jack 2. I loved Jack 3. Jack X is a pretty good racing game, probably the best racing game. And I have the soft spot for the spin-off PSP games. But sadly, Ratchet and Clank gets more attention and has won on the death battle against Jack and Daxter. But on the other hand, the Jack series was so spectacular with what they were doing that the corporations could potentially ruin these characters. I mean, Naughty Dog dropped Jack and Daxter and moved on to other projects with Uncharted and The Last of Us games, which are amazing games, although part 2, it's good but not great. And making a video game movie, yeah, it's kind of a disaster. I mean, you were making live action video game movies and they would... I mean, this is a Mortal Kombat game, but even then, many people said it was bad. It was probably the best so far. And then there's the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, which is the only good video game movie in years, which is saying something. And keep in mind, I've watched the Resident Evil CGI movies, and they're not really good video game movies either. They're boring, dull, and in the case of the third one, it's kind of ridiculous in some parts. And that's the fourth CGI Resident Evil movie with Claire Redfield. But even then, even if they were to get the remake voice actors, which is still not confirmed, but either way, I still wouldn't see it because they're shit. They're boring. Video games does characters justice if given a good amount of story. Watching a video game movie, it just leaves a lot to be desired. Sonic the Hedgehog, so far, is the closest and probably the only thing we're gonna get out of a good video game movie. The Ratchet and Clank reboot sucked, both as a video game and the movie. What else is there to say? If you like what you see, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel, and I hope you have a good day or night, and take care.